Hey there, welcome to The Working Actor on the Workbook. I'm Natasha Gargiulo, and thanks for joining us every week as we dive into the working actors who are successfully making it in Canada and abroad. And our next guest needs no introduction. Noah Lamanna is a Canadian rising star. They have been on screen, on stage, and they have been working as a successful working actor since the age of 7. You probably have seen them on The Last of Us, and they'll be coming up on Ginny and Georgia. And we are so excited that Noah joins us today to give us a little sneak peek into the journey on how they became a successful working actor. Thanks for joining us, Noah.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You know, it's so exciting when you see people on screen and then you get to interview them because you're like, oh my goodness, how did this happen for you? And it's not just like small series, right? These are big, buzzworthy, must see series. One is an HBO one, The Last of Us, and the other one is one of Netflix's biggest shows, Ginny and Georgia. How did this journey start for you? Tell us, I guess, with The Last of Us, how did that happen?
It was a pretty straightforward audition process, actually. I got a tape. Actually, I did redo the tape. We did the tape, I edited it, and I was like, it's wrong. It happens every now and then where like, especially if it's something I really want, where I'll like watch it after and realize like we didn't get it, like I missed something really important. So I did actually end up having to call someone else and redo the tape again.
Mhm.
But outside of that, I sent a tape in and we heard back quite quickly, actually. I got a email asking if I could ride horses, and shortly after that, we got the call that we booked it. So yeah, it was really exciting.
So I find that interesting because actors, whenever they're filling out their application or their online profile, they always ask you if you've got those special
Special
skills that
skills,
you
yeah.
can do. And they're like, do you know how to horseback ride? And I'm always like, when are they ever going to use someone who can horseback ride? But it actually came into play for you.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of shows that you need to horse. Any period stuff like westerns. There's Bridgerton. There's all kinds of things you need a horse for.
Right. Okay. So when you got the script and you said you auditioned for it the first time, you submitted the tape and then you're like, it's all wrong. So what
No,
did
no, I didn't submit it. I
you
I
didn't submit
taped
it?
it and then I was like, that's wrong, and so I redid it before I submitted.
So what was it about it that you felt was not right, and what did you correct that made you get the role?
It was written in the breakdown quite explicitly that like she's not helpless, um because the kind of like inherent trajectory of the scene is like I'm trying to get them to do something and they're not doing it. So I think that can read sort of it might have even said like she's not whiny. It can read very like, come on guys, like please, we gotta, come on, we gotta do this, whatever. And I think just the way it was coming out in my first take, when I watched it back, I was like, it's not, like it's a little too whiny, like it's not grounded enough in like this character at least really trying to be in their power. um and so it kind of went counter to exactly what the instruction was when I saw how it landed when I watched it. So that's why I knew for this one, like you really need to redo this because they've explicitly asked for something quite specific, and we didn't land that.
So the reason why we do this show weekly is because we try and inspire actors who tune in from around the world and kind of provide them with tools and insight from successful actors like yourself on how to go about the whole audition process, how to nail your audition, et cetera, et cetera. So I think in the example you just gave us, it's kind of like trust your instinct when you know that it's not good and don't just rush the whole audition process, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think there can be it's a delicate line because you can also get into the space of like running it into the ground and trying to be so detail oriented that you're kind of losing the plot, right? But I think when you have a very clear sense of like we didn't get it and there's a specific reason and I know I can nail it. I mean, it certainly can be worth the retape because, yeah, sometimes then you book it.
Oh, Hi. Oh, hi there. Here comes fun.
Hi. Happy? Hey, can we go back now, please?
Yeah, we will. Promise. We're just gonna listen quick, see if any are in there, which is definitely recon. And, maybe there's a regular person who's trapped and needs help.
Yeah, what if there's a family in there? What if there's a toddler? Or a baby?
There's no babies in there. Hey, come on. Rules. Fine. If you hear anything, you come right back.
Okay.
You just gonna let him go in?
I'll give him 5 minutes.
Can you tell us what the experience is like being on set?
Yeah, it was great.
I mean,
Yeah.
two of the biggest stars too in that series as well. There's Bella Ramsey, there's Pedro Pascal, and a lot of people love this series. So did you have any one-on-one time with them, and did you remark anything about them, or did they give you any, I guess, praise with your acting?
Yeah, I got to spend, quite a lot of time on set with Bella, who is just really, really lovely, very, down to earth. The whole cast was so welcoming. It's an interesting thing coming on to a show that, already exists and like where people have famously deep connections. Like the Pedro and Bella friendship is like, lore at this point.
Yeah.
So it is interesting to come into a situation where people already have such close relationships like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody was really, really sweet. Bella and I had, some cute time to connect on sort of being trans and non-binary in the industry. And um Pedro did actually say something nice about my acting. So I took that to the bank and I will keep that with me forever.
The suspense is killing me now, and I want to know. But I appreciate that. I appreciate and respect that, but that's very cool, right?
It was cool, yeah.
Not many people can say Pedro Pascal commented on my acting. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. As an actor, when you get a role that is so big like that, obviously you need to do your research and you need to have watched a couple of episodes, etc. So how extensively did you research The Last of Us, or were you a diehard fan like the rest of the world is?
Yeah, I mean, I had already watched the first season when it came out, so I was up to date. I'm not a gamer, so like I hadn't played the game. And I mean, what was interesting about my character is like it's not actually built out in the game. She's basically like a photograph and is kind of referenced to, but there is no actual like actor who plays her. So it really was, just sort of mine to discover in a way.
Joel, what the fuck?
Exactly, what the fuck? Get out of here.
No, wait. What are you even doing here? You're supposed to be on patrol.
I came home early to surprise you for your birthday. 17, by the way.
Well, I'm 19, so I'm gonna go.
What the fuck is that?
It's not done yet. It's gonna look better.
Leave.
Right.
You've done so many different genres, and you've applied your talents to so many different, I think, variety of roles, right? Because you've done stage, you've done film, you've done TV, you've done drag, you've done puppetry, and I guess when you go into an audition, you're so versatile that you can really play any role because you can adapt to it. So how has that been the experience as an actor, being so, I guess, like a chameleon, where you can just be the role and just take on the role?
At the end of the day, that like being a chameleon kind of is the job, right? Of
Yeah.
The job is inherently about becoming someone else. But even in that, I think, there's obviously, people have hits and types of characters that you play more often than others. And I certainly, do have my hits and sort of roles or types of roles that I continue to get called back for. But I think having a sort of versatile background and training has been very helpful in, like, you know, especially, for example, the play I did a couple years ago, Let the Right One In, required a lot of movement. And having a dance background, while it wasn't a dance show, having a dance background really benefited me in being able to bring a sense of creative movement into the role, and also to sustain it, because it was very, very physically taxing. And I don't think that if I hadn't had that background in movement, I most certainly would have been injured.
So take us back, because you started performing at the age of 7. Was it something that you wanted to get into, or was it something that you just kind of fell into and just decided to explore it?
A mix of both, I think. I think I was always, you know, sort of quite theatrical as a child, but as it is told to me, I was put into musical theater at 7 because I was very clumsy, and my mother had the idea that it might be a good idea to you know, help work on my gross motor if I did a little dance class. Um, and then from there, you know, I really took to it. And as each year progressed, I was in more and more dance classes and competing and doing musical theater, like productions. And it just, yeah, it kind of grew out from there. I worked a bit professionally as a kid, but the this was, you know, long before self tapes, and we lived outside of the city, and just the kind of, you know, I had a single mom, so the reality of driving me into this city in the middle of the day to do auditions just wasn't really tenable. So it wasn't, I didn't, yeah, really start working professionally until after college, outside of, you know, a few it's been mentioned in some other interviews. I was a child Shania Twain and Cher impersonator, so that was maybe officially my first professional gig.
Okay. Well,
But outside of that,
you can't just say that and have me go on to the next question. We have to dive into that. Shania Twain, a Canadian icon, and
yeah,
there is another, I mean, worldwide icon. How did
yeah.
that happen?
We joined this like local talent agency, and yeah, there was this show. It was like a kids celebrity impersonation show. And so there was an Elvis, Michael Jackson, Faith Hill, and we kind of toured all of the church basements and community centers of rural Ontario, doing our set. Yeah. It's like, it's a really funny thing to, like, you know, pull out on a date or something. Like, it's a funny story.
It is.
And
I'm
you
hoping,
know,
I'm
the
hoping
pictures are good.
yeah, I'm hoping you're going to meet Shania Twain. Have you met her yet?
No, I haven't. Oh my God, I would love to.
Oh, I mean, I think that's on your way. Meeting Shania Twain and Cher. Those are two big
Yeah, oh my God, yeah.
that would be amazing.
Yeah,
But
if that's where this ends, then it was all worth it. Yeah.
I could assist you with so many things. Rebuilding this place, fixing Halen. That's what you want, isn't it? Why you're here. We could be partners. We could do such great things together. I'm highly selective, you know. There's only one other person here. Have you tried connecting with Halen? I want.
as you're auditioning through all this, and as you're going through the process of becoming a successful actor, were there any struggles that you want to share with us, and just like on your road to The Last of Us and Ginny and Georgia? And obviously you've done so much more. I know I'm emphasizing on those two, but your Dream Scenario, Star Trek Strange and New Worlds, Top Line, which is a musical series, and so much more. So were there any things that really stood out in your career that you want to share with us about maybe some of the challenges that you went through that can maybe inspire some of the actors tuning in?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I completely quit the industry at one point. When I graduated college, I did a couple musicals out of school, and I got an agent like fairly quickly out of that. And like I was there for a couple years, but I think I kind of just got lost on the roster, which is, sort of another conversation about the pressure to, sort of fit in with, everyone else in the room with you. I think it wasn't until I really came into myself, and this is it's a challenge for people starting out so young, because like you haven't really figured yourself out yet. You don't know what your perspective or your voice or really your identity is, and so it's very hard when you're 20 and you graduate college and you just go out to have a career. It takes some time to figure yourself out, and so that's one thing I would say is like let yourself have that time to figure yourself out. Because it wasn't until much, much later that I, had lived more of a life and developed a clearer identity and a clearer worldview that then I could take into auditions, into roles, and into the room, and, have that resonate with the people on the other side of the table. And yeah, so I mean, basically I was going out for auditions, not really booking that much. And then it just started fizzling. Like I stopped getting so many calls. I wasn't going out as much. Then I lost my confidence because I felt like I didn't know how to do it anymore because I wasn't doing it. And yeah, it just reached a point where I was like, I actually don't think this is going to work out. So I left my agency. I was working as a barista. There were a lot of other factors happening at the time that kind of led to me feeling like I wasn't able to do this. But basically, then what happened is that a longtime friend of mine called me and said, I'm opening an agency. If I opened a talent agency, would you join? And I mean, at that point, I was like, I don't have anything to lose. Like I'm not even in the industry anymore. So sure. And that ended up being Michael Rubenstein, who is still my agent to this day. So that was like a big shift in, pulling me back into the industry. And the other thing I would say was in that period where I wasn't working professionally, I kind of got pulled back in by working in like experimental indie theater. A friend of mine had a company, and they were doing a show that I wanted to be in, and I said, okay, this is your last audition ever. If you don't book this, like that is a wrap on acting for you. And I did book it. And so it led to several years of me working with this company and really finding a creative voice, because again, it wasn't professional. We weren't getting paid. It wasn't like industry or career driven. It was just people who go to work in the day and come to rehearsal afterwards because they really want to be there and they have a vision and they want to work in community with friends and, fellow artists and just like make something cool that doesn't have to be there's no bottom line, there's no like producers looking over your shoulder. It's just like us and we get to just make something. So those years of working in that company really also helped me sort of craft a creative identity for myself, which then, has now informed everything that I've done since.
Yeah. Were you always open about your identity while you were going through the process of acting, or was it at a certain point in your career where you said, I'm going to be transparent and I'm non-binary and I want to approach roles as a non-binary actor. And did you find it easy that the casting directors were casting you for roles as a non-binary actor?
Yeah, I mean, like I had heard the word non-binary. I had met a couple people using they them pronouns, but that was like, you know, it wasn't really a thing in the public consciousness, or like my social awareness. So it wasn't until, 2019 sort of when there were a lot more people sort of speaking about their identity in that way that I sort of started coming into realization that probably that was the vibe for me too. And there's a lot, that happens in that process, like a lot of imposter syndrome, a lot of just like reckoning, and the reckoning with like, especially in a career like this where you are your brand, right? It's like, what does this mean now that I'm going to have to do a full rebrand?
Yeah.
With a whole new name and gender and like physical aesthetic, right? So it was a lot to hold, I guess. But it did then, reach a point where I was like, okay, this is what it is. And it was kind of interesting and lucky for me that happened at the same time that, this sort of wave of like non-binary casting and character writing was happening. And so everybody, like the casting agencies who like already knew me, were all, very gracious about, calling me a new name and all of that. And it really, like, I worked more, much more consistently, after the rebrand, which, you could attribute that to a lot of things, and I don't know exactly, uh, if there's one thing that explains that, but yeah, that's what happened.
I mean, there's so much deeper meaning to it. Like when just hearing that, it's like once you become your authentic self and you're true to yourself, the world just opens up for you and, good things start to happen. So that's how I take it. So congratulations on all your success. And with that, you were a juror at the 2025 Actor Awards with the very first non-binary gender non-conforming outstanding performance award. So that's a pretty cool thing that happened. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was really cool. It was my first time being on a panel like that. So it was very, it was special that that's the panel that I got to do for my first time. And yeah, it was really gratifying seeing Rabia give their speech and, sort of see what that meant to them. And it made me really happy and proud to have been involved in recognizing, their great talent and amazing project.
So, aside from seeing you in front of the camera, we're also going to be seeing you behind the scenes and taking a directorial debut, right? What are you hoping in terms of storytelling that you hope casting directors or directors are going to want to tell in the future?
I just hope to continue seeing more, trans and queer people behind the camera in the writers' rooms, producing, directing, because, it makes a difference, and it's very clear when people are telling their own authentic stories, and you can tell when like the voice of a project is coming from somewhere real. And I think that's the sort of trajectory that we're on, and I'm excited to see it continue to unfold.
All right, no, I can't say goodbye without talking about Ginny and Georgia. Can we do it?
Let's do it.
Audition for Ginny and Georgia. Did you know did you know you were going to audition for Ginny and Georgia How did that come about, and how did you go about the audition process for that?
I was in BC at the time for The Last of Us when I got the tape. So I shot the tape in my hotel bathroom. The lighting was great.
Always is.
Yeah. There was like a ring light in the mirror. And yeah, it was that was quite a prolonged audition process actually, because I think they were really back and forth in talks with Netflix about whether I don't know if I'm supposed to say it, about whether I was too old. um, so I went in for a hair and makeup test. I had a chem read with Katie. I can say that now. I had a chem read with Katie. We were on hold for like really quite a while. It was like maybe over a month that I was on hold. And so then by the time I like booked it, it was like a few days later that I went to set the first time. Yeah, so it was we were um we were on the edge of our seat for a long time on that one.
So I find it interesting that they said that you might have been too old, because I find that like your age ambiguous. I don't know how old you are at all, because you could play a teenager, and I'm sure with a lot of help with makeup and hair, you can play an older person as well. But you look like you're a teenager. What's that feeling like when you're on hold for a month, and how do you get through it? How do you keep yourself motivated?
Really, I just kind of try not to think about it. Like it's going to take how long it takes.
Yeah.
Like when people who are not actors, will be like, "Oh my God, so how did that tape go the other day?" And you're like, "Truly, I don't know what tape you're talking about." Like you have to do it and then forget about it, because probably you'll never hear about it again. This idea that, people are like, "Oh, so when will you hear back about that?" And it's like, no, I never, unless I get the job, in which case, like maybe a day before I start working, like you have to rid yourself of any pretense that like you're going to hear back at a certain point. So that's already part of it, that you sort of release your attachment to hearing back about anything. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times you're on hold and you get dropped. Like, so hold isn't a booking. So when I'm told that I'm on hold for something, that means nothing to me, really. Because it's like, okay, cool, but like that's not the job, I don't have the job. So it's you take it with a grain of salt. You take it with like, okay, great, they liked what I did. This could end up being something, but like it's not mine yet, so I can't be attached to it yet.
That's amazing. And you need to have, I really believe you need to have thick skin in order to be an actor in this industry, because like you said, sometimes it's really hard to just let it go or forget about it. And especially when you're on hold, you're almost there, right? And then if they turn around and give you positive news, it's great, you've made it. But if they give you the news that you don't want to hear, it's really disheartening. So how do you get past that? How do you keep yourself motivated to keep going?
I let myself have the day or the couple days of just like feeling really bad about it. If I don't get it. I think, at least for me, it's like I just have to let myself have a couple bed days, and just like really feel the disappointment. And then you're kind of on to the next. But and it's not always that. Like it's only if it's something, like really big or something I really want, that I'll really feel that disappointment around. Because you're getting rejected so regularly that it's like, it's kind of untenable to have that relationship to every rejection. So a lot of times it's just like, oh, that sucks. Like, okay, well, whatever. But there are some where it's like, where it hurts, where you're like, ooh, I really wanted that one.
No, you've done so well for yourself, and I'm sure there's so much more coming your way. So, what would that 7-year-old and that Shania Twain impersonator want to know that you know now about this industry?
Hmm. Um, I guess that it comes in waves. And like there will be, very low lows, but there will be highs too. And that pattern isn't over. Like, I've got stuff happening right now, but that won't always be the case. And um I think for me it's been very helpful to sort of have other things happening in my life so that you're not like living and dying by the phone call, you know? um, and that your sort of whole sense of self-worth is not tied to career success. Um, so yeah, like have a life outside of it, but know that uh, when it's low, it's gonna get high again.
I love that. And that's how I'm going to end this because that was amazing. And I hope you come back to the workbook and give us more insight on your amazing, successful working actor career because we loved this moment with you. Thanks so much for being here with us, Noah.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, congratulations on all your success.
Thank
I
you.
can't wait to see you on Ginny and Georgia. I really can't.
Me too, man. I haven't seen it yet.
Are you going to have a watch party?
You know what? That's funny. I hadn't actually even considered that. But now that you said so, maybe.
All right. What time shall I be there?
Yeah, I'll text you after.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. This has been another
Thank
great
you.
episode of The Working Actor with Noah Lamanna, a Canadian rising star making their mark in Hollywood and is going to be seen on the next season of Ginny and Georgia on Netflix. Thanks for being here, everyone.